What's happening, people? I hope you're all well. So, on this cold day in the United Kingdom, cold, wet, damp, on this day we're going to talk about Joseph Parker versus Zhang. This fight has been announced to be taking place on the undercard of Anthony Joshua versus Francis Ngannou, and rightly so. People were talking about Wilder versus Zhang, and while I don't dislike the fight, it seemed to me that if that was to happen, that Joseph Parker was almost being overlooked for his win. It's almost like, well, the Wilder-Parker fight, Wilder was supposed to win. He didn't win, so we're going to give him another go. And Joseph Parker, well, he can kick rocks somewhere. That's kind of the message it would have sent out. But no, Joseph Parker is back in action against Zhang. And I'll make a full prediction video later on, but with regards to this fight, some brief opening thoughts. I mean, Zhang, does he have a mandatory? I don't think he's mandatory. I don't think either fight is in a mandatory position. So if this fight is a final eliminator, and I apologize if the lighting goes off, it always seems to be when I'm filming on this street that the light seems to go off a little bit. Maybe it's because I'm walking uphill, I don't know. Anyway, apologies in advance. I've seen it go off a few times already. So back to the video. I don't think either fighter is in a mandatory spot. For whatever reason in my mind, I seem to have it in my mind that Joe Joyce was mandatory. Correct me, tell me if he was or wasn't, but I can't imagine so, considering Zhang would have taken his position. And Zhang, to my knowledge, is not mandatory. But so I'm gonna work under the assumption, and please correct me if I'm wrong, I'm gonna work under the assumption that neither guy is mandatory. So Zhang holding the an interim title of sorts, I believe it's WBO, correct me if I'm wrong again. Parker, I don't think he's mandatory. So this fight right here, I wouldn't be mad if this was announced as some sort of final eliminator for a belt, because it's a high level fight. It's a fight between two guys coming off big wins. Yeah, this fight makes sense to me. This fight makes sense. Is Zhang though making a mistake taking on a fighter who is in good form when he's got a high ranking position, and he could maneuver himself by fighting a lesser opponent and finding his way into a mandatory spot? Is Zhang taking too much of a risk? Is Zhang making the same mistake that Joe Joyce made when he fought Zhang? Joe Joyce was in a good spot. He just knocked out Joseph Parker. He'd also beaten Daniel Dubois. And then he goes and takes on the Zhang risk. And then he's in no man's land now. Is Zhang gonna be that guy who comes off two big wins against Joe Joyce in a fight where I think stylistically suited Zhang to the ground? Going to take on Joseph Parker, for me, which could be a trickier assignment, despite the fact Joe Joyce knocked Parker out. Boxing is rock, paper, scissors, styles make fights. And then he's going to end up in no man's land after just beating Joe Joyce back to back and maybe even effectively ending his career. Could it be? You see, you have to be smart. You got to be brave, you got to be bold, but you got to be smart. Maybe this isn't smart. But then at the same time, in that same breath, who's going to really fight Zhang? Zhang is known, but he's not known. Yeah, he's known in China, but who really focuses their marketing for the majority of fighters out there in boxing? And I'm not disrespecting China. For the majority of boxers out there, how many of them are focusing their marketing and promotion in the Chinese demographic? Not many, in my opinion. In my humble opinion, not many. Correct me if I'm wrong there. So having a Chinese fan base isn't definitive and isn't gonna make other boxers want to fight you, so you can, you know, necessarily, so you can take their fans. Zheili Zhang is known in China, but where else is he known despite beating Joe Joyce back to back? So who is really going to take on Joe Joyce? Who's really going to take on Zheili Zhang, rather, and give him, or let me put it in a better way, because Zheili Zhang hasn't got the most desirable fan base in the market, and he's not actually that known, you know, in terms of comparing him to other heavyweights like Anthony Joshua, even Deontay Wilder. Because Zheili Zhang's not that known and he's dangerous, who's going to voluntarily give him a shot? Either fight him in a final eliminator or give him a voluntary. Who's going to do that? Because the upside of beating Zheili Zhang is, well, you beat a 40-year-old who's not that known. But the downside is he's very dangerous. So there's not a lot of upside, relatively speaking, but there's a lot of downside. So maybe Zheili Zhang has nowhere else to go. Maybe Zheili Zhang has to take this fight. Now, this video, I don't want it to be too long, so it's not a prediction video, but I'm going to quickly break down the styles of the fight. Zheili Zhang, he likes to center ring, plant himself center ring. These days, he likes to plant himself center ring because he's put on a load of weight. He used to weigh in like the 250s. Now he's coming in 270s, 280s. He's massive. So he doesn't really like to move around the ring a lot. Plant himself center ring, have you in front of him. And although his feet ain't exactly quick, his hands are quick. So it's deceptive. You think, oh, he's not quick. I'm going to stand in front of him and I can get my work off and he can't hit me. No. If you stand in front of him, he's going to hit you. If you move around because he's got slow feet, then you can have success. Joseph Parker has the feet to do it, doesn't he? Now, Joseph Parker, it's funny because he's got the foot speed, but he hasn't got the stamina. Unless he's lighter. Against Anthony Joshua, he didn't win the fight, but he was able to move about for 12. When Joseph Parker comes in heavy, he can't move about for 12. So it's going to be interesting to see if Joseph Parker comes in light. If he comes in light, he might be able to move around the ring. Joseph Parker actually has really fast hands for a heavyweight. So even if Joseph Parker elects to stand in the pocket, he might be able to outland Zheili Zhang. But can he do it for 12 rounds without getting clipped by the big bangs? Big left? He'll get caught at least once in that fight, I guarantee it. You're not as fast as Wilder, but he can set his punches up a bit better. So it's fascinating for me, fascinating. It's going to be cat and mouse. I reckon Parker's going to be on the peripheral, circling and fighting in spurts in the middle, and Zhang is going to be like that slow old lion who's, you know, he's not as quick as he once was, but if you give him that chance, he can show you what he used to be able to do. Anyway, what do you guys make of the fight in terms of should both fighters take it? You know, in terms of their sort of, not their marketing, their surge for a title. Is this a smart move for both fighters to be taking? You know, is it a smart move for both fighters to be taking? And as a fan, do you like it? See, I'm kind of dubious whether it's a smart move for both fighters to take the fight. But from a fan's perspective, I like it. And that's often the case, you see. When you're wondering why fights aren't getting made that you want to see, it's because although it's within your interest as a fan to see these fights, from a strategic standpoint, from a matchmaking standpoint, the people who are trying to eat off these fighters, the people who are trying to send their kids to private school from these fighters, and the promoters who are trying to get their retirement checks from these fighters, they're looking at it a little bit differently. They're less about taking that risk. Whereas me, I'm like, yeah, why not, man? Parker, Zhang. Well, Joseph Parker's promoters thinking, man, like, I need to retire. Joseph Parker can retire me. Joseph Parker can set my kids up for life. So, you know, maybe I should be a bit more careful. Anyway, what do you make of everything I said in this video? Let me know. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, hit the notification bell so you get a notification when I make a new video. If you appreciate my work, leave a donation. There's a link for that in the description. With that, enjoy the rest of your day. See you on the next one.